स्टोव से खाना बनाती थी मैं। स्टोव का ढक्कन निकाल के पूरा गैस के ऊपर आ गया और मेरे आंख पे पड़ गया। घर में तो कोई भी नहीं था, बाल बच्चे स्कूल में थे, आदमी मेरा काम पे था, घर में कोई भी नहीं था, मैं अकेली थी। वो इधर के बाजू के लोग आके मेरे को बुझाया, बुझा के बाद में फिर दवाखाने में लेके गए, हॉस्पिटल में।
थाना में गया तो मेरे को तो फ़ोन आया ड्यूटी पे, फ़ोन आया ऐसा ऐसा हो गया करके। बाद में मैं आई, मेरे साहब ने लोग उधर बताया तुम ड्यूटी मत करो तो तेरा घर में ऐसा हो गया।
वो घर में ही था तो वो बोली तू दारू छोड़ दे, वो बोलता ही नहीं छोड़ेगी। इसी से उसने खुद को आंख पर राकेल डाला और काड़ी लगा के जला दिया।
हमारे मकान में किसी का कुछ हो जाएगा तो हम खुद ही मालिक उसको कम से कम देख सकते हैं। अभी उधर बहुत लंबा बोलेगा यहाँ से, और वो भी मालिक बोल सकता है तुम यहाँ तक काय के लिए आए, वो हमारा मामला है।
तो सब लोग बोलने लगे तो हम आए ना देखने के लिए। तब वो ऐसा याद जली थी ना बहुत, तो वहाँ कूदा था ना, पानी था ना, उसमें ऐसे बैठती थी उठती थी, बोलती थी मेरे को बचाओ मेरे को बचाओ।
और पुलिस स्टेशन जाने का ये करने का इसकी वजह से आजकल बहुत लोगों को डर लगता है। नहीं आपको कैसा, हम तो इधर नहीं रहते, हम तो ड्यूटी पे रहते हैं।
तो तब तक वो पूरा जल गई थी, आगे की साइड तो उसकी जली गई ज़्यादा। और वो उसका मर्द अभी भी उनका चलता है हमेशा झगड़ा।
ऊपर रहते ना वो लोग, हम लोग नीचे रहते हैं, अभी क्या मालूम क्या हुआ क्या नहीं।
It is hardly surprising that Nagra did not tell the whole truth. It is also not surprising that her neighbors chose to look the other way, or that Nagra's case is registered in police and hospital records as an accident. For almost everyone, from the state machinery that Nagra came in contact with, to her neighbors, and more significantly, she herself believed that it is a personal matter that no one else should bother with. But this has begun to change. While Nagra, like millions of other women across the world, chose to keep quiet, many others have begun to speak up. Despite its widespread presence, domestic violence had to be formally rediscovered by women's collectives. Here at Mumbra, a small town in the outskirts of Mumbai, we are witnessing the formation of one such collective. Soon, this motley crowd would begin to provide to its members a platform to talk, to pour out their pains and their fears. In one of these meetings, a woman would find the strength to reveal her mental and physical battering, a trend that many would emulate. Questions that collectives like this raise have forced states the world over to acknowledge domestic violence as a human right violation, necessitating in-depth investigations and interventions. This film documents the questioning as well as the initiatives that have helped in breaking the barriers that divide lives into the private and the public. Centuries ago, our ancients laid down rules to tackle a protesting wife. While these laws suggest that women were silenced into submission, they also suggest that there were women who had to be silenced. Absence of a platform, perhaps, resulted in their protests dying down. Times changed. States no longer drew up laws supporting violence within homes. The process of socialization and tradition, however, kept the culture of silence alive. The myth of domestic bliss and of its privacy continued to thrive. The divide between the personal and the public, it seemed, was here to stay.
देखिए इनका घर का मामला है, अंदर का मामला है, इसके लिए बाहर के लोग हम लोग कुछ बोल नहीं सकते हैं। क्यों मालूम है क्या, कोई छोड़ने को जाएगा ना तो भी ये लोग उल्टा बोलेगा, तुमको या और तुमको रखो, फिर हम लोग क्या करेंगे। इसके लिए ज़्यादा हम लोग रिस्क नहीं ले सकते, ये छिड़ाने को भी नहीं जा सकता है।
लेकिन वो घरों में तो औरत लोगों को पुरुष लोग जानबूझ के तो मारते नहीं, मारते तो कोई कुछ प्रॉब्लम रहता है उसका घर का कंपलसरी, कुछ औरतें भी सब बोलेगा तो सब हाथ का उंगली एक सरीका नहीं रहते।
इनके अंदर के बाद औरत को अच्छा नहीं लगता होगा, इसके लिए सब कुछ चल रहा है ऐसा। खेड़े गाँव में क्या है,
As attitudes uniformly justified and trivialized domestic violence, it began to take on deadlier forms.
कुछ भी मिलता था वो सिर्फ फेक के मारता था वो। परत गरोदर असताना रॉकेल वगैरे होत त्याला माहिती नाही पिण्यामध्ये ते, आणि मला म्हणतो कांडी लाव तू आता।
उतने से मेरे को बहुत गंदा गाली देके मेरे को मारा तो पूरा खाना चावल सब एक साथ हो गया, इतना मारा कि मैं बेहोश हो गई वो जगह पे।
पर वो 10 दिन मारता था पट्टे से, और पाँव पे से मारता था, पेट पे मारता था, और बोला था मुझे अबॉर्शन करना है, मुझे लड़का नहीं चाहिए।
ऐसे ही मार देते हैं, तो ढीमा धोखा लेगा, कुछ लोखंड का किसका ही पाइप लेके मारते ही रहेगा, ऐसा खून निकलेगा, हरा बदन हो जाता है मेरा।
और उस लड़की की आवाज़ मैंने फ़ोन पे भी सुनी थी, उनके नाम के फ़ोन सारे दिन घर में आते रहते हैं उसी हिसाब से। और मेरा पति क्या कहने के सवेरे 10 से पहले तुझे फ़ोन अटेंड नहीं करने, और रात 10 बजे के बाद भी तुझे फ़ोन अटेंड नहीं करने हैं।
इस वातावरण में रहते हुए आपके
मैं मेंटली मानसिक स्थिति मेरी कंफ्यूजिंग ही है, मैं कुछ कर नहीं पाती हूँ, ना सोच पाती हूँ, ना कुछ हो पाता है मुझसे।
The tormentor here was not a psychopath. He was a normal human being indulging in criminal behavior. His actions arose out of his socialization. They were backed by his customs and beliefs. They were meant to improve his woman, to make her conform, to make her do her jobs properly.
ज़रूरत समझी तभी तो मारते हैं ना, बिना इसके से कोई मारता ही नहीं मैडम। यही हमेशा कभी 7 बजे का ड्यूटी है तो कभी रात को आने का 10 बजे 11 बजे। इसका कारण कुछ तो होएगा ना, इतना टाइम तक तो ऑफिस में कोई बैठता नहीं।
माँ ने कुछ बोला ये काम बराबर नहीं कर रहा है, तो उन्होंने बोला हम करता नहीं तुम ही करो, ऐसा करके सब काम छोड़ देने का। तो वही बात पे कुछ हो गया, मैं ड्यूटी पे से आया था, देख रहा था माँ का पूरा हाथ पूरा खून बीन से हो गया था, और बंगड़ी पूरा छिप गया था। तो मैं आया देखा, पूछा तो मेरे को बोलने लग गया ऐसा था, बोला हो गया। फिर मैं बोले खून बीन कैसा आ रहा है, मैं गुस्से में एक लाफा मारा। फिर आदमी मेरा कॉलर पकड़ा ना, फिर वो क्या पट्टा दिखा, 1-2 मारा, फिर पट्टे से मैंने मारा।
मैं कभी ऐसा बाहर का टेंशन भी घर में लेके आता था, कभी पीता था, मैं औरत 2 बात कभी ज़्यादा बोला तो मैं उसको 2-3 झप्पड़ ही मारता था, खाली बुकट पीने के नशे में। बाकी ऐसा कभी कुछ बोला तो नहीं मारता था।
I feel that aggression is a social construct. It is based in basic power balance between men and women. I feel that like men, I do not believe that men per se are aggressive and women per se are docile. I feel that both are socially constructed to be so.
The causative factors which people say are different, outpouring of office anger at home and, various kinds of, moods, but, lack of trust, mistrust, lack of understanding and all. But I think that the basic thing underlying it is obviously assertion of male superiority, which is there.
And aggression is vis-a-vis who? When there is, so then you will understand the power balance, that a man will not beat his boss, will not beat his neighbor unless whatever there is a fight or whatever, he cannot just go and beat. So it is possible to beat women. So women are being beaten.
Even if they are drunkards and so to speak alcoholics and drug addicts, they don't go around beating everybody, they just go beat their wives.
A woman is battered when she crosses the boundary her man draws around her. The boundary itself being a flexible one, fluctuating at the whims and fancies of the man.
It could be one day that you did not give me chai on time, Another time it could be कि मेरा shirt इस्त्री नहीं हुआ time पे, okay? Or a third time it is that why was that man looking at you?
Basically, the dignity of an individual is being trampled by various ways. You know, verbal abuse, non-verbal abuse, physical, psychological, sexual.
Every woman who dies doesn't die because of one reason. She dies out of humiliation, she dies because she's born girl children, she's suspected of fidelity, or husband is having an affair, that she doesn't look good, she doesn't cook well. Anything can be a reason to drive this woman insane. Drive her to suicide or drive her to murder.
Male violence against women maintains status quo. It also controls and subordinates women.
पति के पाँव के नीचे तो रह जाओगी ना, सब जन बोलेंगे हाँ बाबा पति के घर पे ही है, मर जाओगी तो पति के घर पे मरोगी, कल बोलेंगे माँ बाप के घर पे मर गए।
बचपन में ही सिखा जाता है माँ बाप के घर में ही कि बाबा ये क्या वो जिस आदमी से शादी करे उस आदमी के घर के बाहर नहीं जाना, मार पीट करो चाहे मार दो, फिर भी उसके घर के बाहर नहीं जाना, किसी को बोला अपनी इज्जत जाती है।
मराठी में कहावत है कि नवऱ्याने मारलं पावसाने झोडलं कोणाला सांगायचं। त्या इसमें कहने जैसा क्या है, जैसे बारिश में भीगेंगे वैसे भीगना पड़ता है, वैसे आदमी से मार खानी पड़ती है।
आदमी तो मारेगा, अब दिस इज एक्सेप्टेड कि men beat, but that's not the reason why you should beat men. I mean, marriage after all is, I mean, man is not seen as a man, he's seen as part of a family. I mean, he's not an individual in this context. It is, he's vis-a-vis marriage and family, and that's the only security.
Breaking this cycle of violence was not easy. Where were the options? Natal support could be one, but often support from that quarter came when it was too late.
तो म्हणायचा का तुला बेंड करील म्हणजे करील, किती का पैसा लागेल तुला बेंड करील म्हणजे करील, अशी स्पष्ट सांगायची. पण आपल्याला वाटत जाऊ द्या बा चुलीचं लाकुडे सुधरल बा म्हणून अशा परिस्थितीनं जाऊ द्या बा असं आम्ही समजायचं.
आलं तर आम्ही विचारलं म्हणजे बाई काय झालं, म्हणे वहिनी रातना दिवस इतका मारतो ना, म्हणे खूप मारतो म्हणे. बरं असं मारतो ना अवघड अवघड ठिकाणावर मारतो म्हणे, तर मला दुसऱ्याकडे सांगायला पण लाज वाटते म्हणे.
तर आम्हाला सांगितलं का वर्षभर होती वाटतं, तर सांगितलं बोले तुम्ही महिला कक्षाकडे कंप्लेंट करा. तर कंप्लेंट केल्यानंतर धीर आला, तर धीर काय बोलला, त्याला आता त्या मुलीला मी घेऊन जातो, काही होणार नाही, काय झालं त्याचा जबाबदार मी आहे. त्याच्यानंतर आम्ही पाठवले.
रात्रभर मारून सनी सकाळच्या बारीक काडी लावून पेटून दिलं पोरीला.
पहले वो लड़की ने हमारे पास एप्लीकेशन दिया था यही कह के कि मेरा हस्बैंड मुझे मारपीट करते हैं, कैसे कि वो शराब पीकर आएगा हस्बैंड, उसके पूरे कपड़े निकालेगा और उसे मारपीट करेगा और फिर सिगरेट पीकर उसको बर्न करेगा.
जाहिर था कि उसने बताया कि मैं वापस जाना नहीं चाहती हूँ. जब हमने उसके आदमी को वापस जॉइंट मीटिंग के लिए बुलाया कि आपकी औरत का ऐसा ऐसा कहना है, वो वापस नहीं आना चाहती, तो उसकी जॉइंट मीटिंग होने के पहले ही उस आदमी का बड़ा भाई लड़की के घर जाके गया और उसने वहीं उसको रिकन्सिलिएशन के लिए तैयार किया.
पर हमने उसे कहा था कि आप ऐसे चले मत जाना, क्योंकि वो लेटर मिला है तो डर कर आएगा, पर तुम हमें आकर बताओ, उसको एक बार हमारे से बात भी कर लेने दो, थोड़ा उसको समझाने दो. तुम अगर वहाँ से चली जाओगी तो वो सोचेगा कि कुछ हुआ नहीं, और वैसे ही हुआ, वो चली गई वहाँ से.
कुछ 1-1.5 महीने के बाद ये न्यूज़ आई कि उसको जलाया गया है.
From then on, events unfold predictably. Pressurized by the husband, she covers up. Her parents' arrival gives her support. She now wishes to retract, but there is no one listening.
अक्का बोललेली नाही का असं बोल नाही का आम्ही झोपलेला आम्हाला काहीच नाही माहित. मग
A few days later, the woman is dead.
मुलगी जिवंत आहे अजून, तिला विचारा म्हटलं काय सांगते काय नाही म्हणे, आम्हाला दुपारा जबानी घेता येत नाही म्हणे, एकदा घेतली खलास म्हणे. मग शेवटला दुसऱ्या दिवशी माझी जबानी घेतली. साहेब म्हटलं अशी अशी घटना आहे, मुलगी स्वतः सांगते. मुलगी गेल्यानंतर त्यांनी माझी जबानी घेतली.
लेकिन जब वो लड़की जिंदा थी और फिर से एक बार स्टेटमेंट देने को तैयार थी, तो मुझे लगता है कि यहाँ पुलिस का रोल है कि उन्होंने फिर से SCM को बुला के, जो स्पेशल एग्जीक्यूटिव मैजिस्ट्रेट रहते हैं, उनको बुला के, डॉक्टर को बुला के उसका स्टेटमेंट वापस लेना चाहिए था.
पुलिस मशीनरी का ड्यूटी है कि वो पंचनामा में ये सब चीज़ें आनी चाहिए। स्टोव से जली है तो स्टोव का ये सब पूरा आना चाहिए, और अगर नहीं मिलता है तो वो पंचनामा में लिखे कि ये स्टोव वगैरह तो कुछ मिला नहीं।
This can only be done if there is an urge in police to give justice to that woman. If there is effort or attempt to just share the responsibility or to hush up the matter, then God help them.
This step raises many questions about dying declarations, about the role of the state, about punishing the guilty. But above all, it raises the question of a woman's access to support before she's done away with.
No woman will die in a husband's house if she has parental support. Two things. One is the way she's raised. That if you bring up your daughters to say that marriage is not permanent, there can be problems in marriage, marriage can break, and in the event that marriage breaks, we are there for you, then no girl will ever think of committing suicide because the marriage fails. Secondly, anytime the girl has come back, there's no space for them. This society provides no space. Their own homes provide no space. Their brothers, their fathers, their mothers give them no encouragement to say like, we are there, you come back.
The questions of shelter, of lack of economic independence, of children, of family honor, all add up then to keep the women where they are.
She has no standing of her own. Even if you are earning member, where is the shelter? Where is the house? Where is the status? Where is the respect for a single woman? Where is the kind of resources that the woman requires to kind of strike out on her own? To say, I won't take this.
As violence becomes unbearable and beatings and abuse intensify, women start seeking support beyond their immediate surroundings.
एक बार तो राकेल डाल के लिया और वो जैसा माचिस देखने गया तो मैंने बत्ती बुझा दिया। बत्ती बुझा के बच्चे को लेके मालूम नहीं था पुलिस स्टेशन कहाँ का होता है, तो मैं मलाड का पुलिस स्टेशन छोड़ के कांदोली पुलिस स्टेशन चले गई।
मुझे उस रात बहुत मारा गया था, मतलब पूरा अंदर से गुप मार मारी गई थी और मेरी पसली वगैरह सूज गई थी, जिसकी वजह से आज भी मुझे प्रॉब्लम है। तो पुलिस स्टेशन गई, पुलिस स्टेशन बताया मैंने ऐसा है, तो उन लोगों ने एनसी तो ले ली और फिर बोला कि हम लोग क्या कर सकते हैं, फैमिली मैटर्स में हम लोग ज़्यादा इन्वॉल्व नहीं हो सकते।
The perceptions she encounters here too are not very different. All that the system could offer was advice that said bear, adjust and be done with.
You first make her understand, tell her ki what are the consequences. Means that girl has to stay in this family. Tomorrow if she complains, for pity thing, which I will make her understand कि this is not only thing happening with you on this world.
सब इंस्पेक्टर भारती उसको पूछेगा कि बाबा और क्या, तो औरत बोलेगी नहीं मैं खाना वगैरह अच्छी पकाती हूँ पर लेकिन ये मुझे दारू पी के मारता है। तो उसको बोलेगा क्या रे दारू पी मारता है क्या, तो नहीं साहब मैं मारता नहीं हूँ ऐसा वगैरह बोलता। उसके ऊपर ही वो जज करता है कि वो असल में मारता है कि नहीं।
Suppose a small kid is there and he is just going and touching a one fire. It is my duty to tell her this is fire, you will get hurt, you will get burned. In spite of that also, if she is continue to do that, I am sorry.
और आपने इधर मैडम ऐसे सिस्टम है, इंडियन कल्चर ही ऐसा है कि लेडीज लोग के दबा के रहना पड़ता है। तो ये सबसे अभी मेरे घर में भी वो ऐसा ही है। मतलब मेरे घर में मेरी
Violence women face within homes is clearly not a priority here. A lone voice here and there seemed to suggest otherwise. But this was not enough.
They should not act superficially, because this encourages family members to do more wrong, and when they do most wrong, there is no time for repentance with police unless to perform inquest panchanama on the dead body of that woman.
Many cases are solved by recording NCs and just warning the husband, in-laws.
NC is very popular word in Mumbai, which means non-cognizable. Complainant thinks out of ignorance that her complaint is recorded. Police think out of negligence or complacency that we have recorded her complaint. But what does it mean? It is a NC. It is a non-cognizable. police are not allowed to take cognizance of it. Forget about taking action.
I am looking after bandobast, I am looking after Dakati, I am looking after the Maramari, fire incident, arson, rioting, law and order problem, what not. Right from dog barking, he spitted at me, he looked at me. Even the smallest pettiest matters, compared to that till last he is murdered. So I have to look after everything.
We are supposed to give 100% to you, to people. So overburden and all that I don't agree with. Only improper sensitization or no sensitization on this issue. One, callousness or shirking tendency of the work.
A woman goes to the police station only when she has exhausted all other options. The failure of the state to come forward and support her at this critical juncture sends her right back to the situations of violence. Sometimes it also intensifies the violence in her life.
वहाँ पे रखने के बावजूद भी दूसरे दिन से ही मुझ पे जोर जोर करना शुरू हो चुका था। फिर घर में नाइफ लेके मारना, पट्टे लेके मारना, हर चीज़ फेंकना, हम लोगों को घर से बाहर निकलना, हम पे थूकना, ये वो हर तरह से परेशानी ही परेशानी थी हमारे पे।
2-3 दिन के बाद वो छूट के आया वापस। वो दोस्त लोग उसके गए, उसको छुड़ा के लाए। फिर आने के बाद तो उसको मेरे ऊपर बहुत उसको गुस्सा आया। फिर बात नहीं करता था, कुछ भी नहीं करता था। इसको पुलिस चाहिए, ऐसा कुछ बहुत गंदी गंदी बात बताता था।
Ironically, it also reduces her chances of getting any further help.
मैं उसके बाद दोबारा थाने गई, वहाँ पे भी मेरी इनसी लिखी गई थी और कुछ नहीं कहा कि भाई हाँ ठीक है हम आएंगे करके समझाएंगे, लेकिन उन्हें बुलाया नहीं गया, कुछ नहीं कहा गया था।
तो मैं उधर साहब को बोली, मतलब यानी कि मेरा खून हो जाएगा तभी इधर तुम लोग सब सुनाई, मेरी सुनवाई होगी, वैसे होने वाली नहीं है।
तो वो क्या बोले?
तो कुछ बोले ही नहीं, वो साहब लोग चुप बैठे हैं।
मैं बोली उन लोग को कि वो लोग मुझे जला डालेंगे, तो बोलते नहीं जलाएंगे तो आने का भाग के। बोले मैं भाग के कैसे आऊँगी, बीच में तो मर जाऊँगी मैं। कहते नहीं कुछ नहीं होगा, तुझे वैसा लगेगा तो 2 दिन के पहले बोलने का। समझो आपने को अभी लग रहा है कि मुझे कल मारने वाले, तो आज पहले दिन आने का भाग के और बोलने का मुझे लोग मारने वाले।
बाहर अगर मुझे किसी ने मारा होता था या कोई अनजान आदमी, तो उसके खिलाफ ज़रूर पुलिस एक्शन लेती थी, उसको मारती थी या उसके ऊपर केस चलाती थी या कुछ तो होता था। पर इसके खिलाफ कुछ नहीं हुआ। एक एनसी हुई छोटी सी, 4 घंटा उसको अंदर रखा, बाद में छोड़ दिया।
An indifferent state denied citizens their rights. This indifference and denial by the state had been questioned for decades now. Ironically, its immediate rallying point was a rape committed in police custody in what came to be known as the Mathura case.
Post Mathura, what happened was that when the state violates rights of the civilians and when that civilian happens to be women, then there are additional dimensions which human rights groups had not taken up. So this Mathura campaign, or earlier before that was Ramizabi, which was also a police violation. So here the human rights groups were forced to take into consideration issues like rape, where the state was violating sexual aspect of a woman.
Even as women's human rights vis-à-vis the state were coming in for a newer focus, the violations women face within their homes began attracting attention.
In 1980, when the campaign started, it was started as anti-rape, but at the same time there were a lot of deaths of women getting burnt, particularly in the north, particularly in Delhi, where women were burnt. And this became, and also these were urban middle class women that were getting burnt very soon after their marriage. So it got the attention of the media, it got the attention of the women's groups, it got the attention of the state. And there were a lot of campaigns and a lot of media publicity about this dowry deaths.
This hype, many felt, created a disproportionate focus around the issue of dowry.
This in fact narrowed down the scope for women. The blame for which really falls on the women's movement to say dowry violence is the violence for married women. Rather than saying domestic violence, the campaign was not towards domestic violence, the campaign was towards dowry related violence.
Another assumption of the women's movement that came to be later questioned was its overemphasis on legal reform.
All these issues like rape or dowry death, etc., were seen as legal issues having legal remedies. So the campaign was for laws. What one is questioning today is that we were looking at empowering women. And the laws that came empowered the state.
What the movement, however, did achieve was an awareness for the issue of domestic violence and a legal amendment that criminalized it.
This is also an outcome of the same movement, which helped to focus attention on the issue of domestic violence.
Along with that, I think the most important gain for women with respect to state response was the legislation called Section 498A. And this legislation, on the one hand, criminalized domestic violence, which was earlier not done, but also, along with physical violence, recognized mental cruelty.
Putting in place laws was one thing. Implementing them, however, proved quite another.
In practice, this is not what actually happens, because the police are reluctant to register crimes under this category if they do not have charges of dowry along with grave physical and mental cruelty.
So as far as we are concerned, it looks like still we do not have a law on domestic violence. 498 is not a substitute for that, in fact. And 498 in fact made situation worse because it is empowered state. It like immediate arrest, husband has to be brought to the police station immediately. The police have the right to go into somebody else's house and make that arrest, etc. But it didn't give anything to women.
While to some, the law clearly did not seem to do enough for women, to some others, it seemed to favor them too much.
Too much in favor of women. उसका misuse किया जाता है, that is unfair. 498 थोड़ा misuse भी होता है उसका. छोटे-मोटे बात पे से भी offense register हो जाते हैं. Touch-up होने जैसे रहते हैं वो भी नहीं होते.
And I just do not understand what is all this hullabaloo about 498A misuse. Because 498A puts women into extremely vulnerable positions. The minute she files 498A, her economic rights or right of shelter or other marital rights are, the door is almost closed on this side. And 498A never looked at all these options, whereas law on domestic violence would naturally look at these things.
Exploring options other than legal reform is what the state did to make itself more accessible to women. In one of these initiatives, the Maharashtra police replaced its anti-Gunda branch in Mumbai with the social security branch.
Definition of Gunda was widened. If Gundas at large, whom we really called Gundas, they are spoiling society, people of their tendency, their mentality, their mental setup are there in houses also, in homes also, in family also. They are spoiling families, they are spoiling homes. So deal with those Gundas and to make the basic unit of society healthier. Social security branch was established.
An in-depth functional review and a few more duty additions later, the Social Security branch stood rechristened Social Service Branch. For those who worked in the branch, the impact of this renaming was magical.
Because of that particular word service, whole attitude of this branch was changed. We remained no more a police, lathi wielding or uniformed police, but we became the part and parcel of this whole society.
State response had women queuing up. The state mediated with the perception that violence in the home must find solutions within it.
And I think the main problem with state intervention is that the state hasn't really made a critical questioning of the family as an institution, which forces power relations to work in a manner that do not work in the best interests of women.
Pressure is on police at same time is that to keep family institution intact.
Police and the society has not really moved in the idea that women might not want to live in a violating situation.
it is not that some lady is complaining and yes, you take divorce. That if this advice is to be given, why she should come to social service branch? If she goes to any advocate, advocate will entertain. Here, our first endeavor is to settle the matter amicably.
No doubt, these steps were aimed at cleansing systems' biases towards women. But as they did not arise from an understanding of women's situation within their homes, they failed to impact. Cleansing remained cosmetic.
When you get more quality, good quality police people, then maybe this could be more insisted upon. Today we are having only metric pass policemen. Maybe someday we will have graduates all over. Then when we pay them more, the better talent and more people from good background would come and join the police. Another good thing is this 30% police force being converted into women police officers and men. That time again, these women who are in trouble could always expect good behavior from these 30% of the women police force.
Even as the system evaluated its own response to domestic violence, it began opening up to newer responses. One such response was a proposal from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences to set up a special cell for women and children.
The Commissioner of Police, Mr. J.F. Ribeiro, accepted the proposal that we enter the police system with him to work on the area of violence against women, allowing us to work with them.
Having accepted the proposal, the Commissioner went all out to make it a success.
The Commissioner did not want a blueprint of what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, when we were going to do it. He allowed us to evolve.
The proposal itself evolved out of a new thinking within the women's movement. A section within it was beginning to feel that it was not enough to question the state's role, or the lack of it, in the area of domestic violence. It was equally important to create a space for the women within the system.
And we needed to introduce new thoughts, new ideas, or a new understanding that was now coming out of researchers, thinking, other influences in society, and needed to share a platform with police to say that no, we demand much more from you today in the areas of family violence.
But before they could do that, the special cell workers had to first understand the system itself, to strike a rapport with it, and to come together as equal.
Understanding the police system was absolutely crucial for our functioning. Okay, I could not completely concentrate only violence against women and just deal with that. I had to understand it vis-a-vis the police, in the police system.
This inquiry led them to see that women were clearly not a priority for the system. But for now, their priority was creating spaces for women, not changing the system.
Where is the point of me making this, or us making this claim that we are out to change the system? We have a definite intention of creating spaces for women where women will demand, ask, question, want. Yes, one can support women.
When a woman comes to us, our basic aim is to basically believe her, hear her out.
अच्छा, लेकिन फिर आगे क्या करना चाहती हो? इस तरीके का अगर उसको प्रश्न किया जाता है तो उसका खुद का सेल्फ डिटर्मिनेशन बढ़ने के लिए, उसकी खुद का कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ने के लिए मदद होती है.
That is a process which I feel eventually empowers a woman. The whole process of to be able to decide for herself, to be able to exercise choices on her own life, to be able to somewhere know what are her options for herself, and to be able to explore that along with the worker.
फिर हम उनको कहते हैं जैसे आपने हमको अभी पूरी आपकी कहानी बताई, उस हिसाब से आप क्या आप लिख सकते हो, क्योंकि हाँ हमारे यहाँ पर अर्जी की ज़रूरत है. इसकी जो मांग है, इसके पीछे ये कारण है कि एक तो वो जब लिखती है, अगर वो लिखना जानती है या इवन इफ शी इज़ नॉट लिटरेट, फिर भी जब वो बोलती है तो बहुत क्लैरिटी आती है.
Besides that, there is always the things of creating services for her, like I mean accessing her to other kind of services like shelter if she wants, if she wants help for legal help, for help for educating for her, for sponsorship for her children. But basically our process is to make her more stronger within her own self, to be able to fight her own battle.
We need to keep reminding ourselves and remembering that women have the right, we believe in women, to say that they can do it themselves, and that yes, they will need support. You need their, what do we say, pathimba, that's support, that is what you can give them.
This support helps a woman to stand up and question the violence in her life.
Essentially, they are beginning to say, stop this violence. They're saying, we want a non-violent situation. We want a family which is peaceful. We want you to explain to him that he cannot beat me anymore.
मेरे वास्ते मैडम बहुत टाइम निकालते हैं. किसी ने इतना नहीं किया तो मैडम ने बहुत किया मेरे लिए, जैसे मानो मेरी बड़ी बहन है.
यहाँ आके मुझे ये मिला है कि हाँ, औरतों को भी आज़ादी है, उनको भी उतना ही हक है जितना आदमियों को है. वो भी उतना ही जी सकती है जितना वो जी सकते हैं. उनको भी जीने का पूरा हक है.
अकेले देखो, इधर महिला मंडल में खाली लेडीज़ की सुना जाता है, जेंट्स का कोई वैल्यू नहीं है. इधर आते दो बात करते चलो भाई, मर्द का कोई ये नहीं, खाली लेडीज़ बस वही सती सावित्री है, वही अच्छी है, जो वो बोल रही है वही सही है, मर्द जो बोल रहा है एकदम झूठ है वो.
Being pro-women doesn't make us anti-men. We need to see that the change occurs in both of them. So by rejecting the man or or antagonizing the man when he comes, it's not going to help. But there are certain amount of non-negotiables which are always there with man. We tell him that the violence is not going to be tolerated.
The whole idea is what the woman wants. If the woman wants that we deal with her man and try and understand what he wants, negotiate with him, stand by her for negotiation, and that's what we are doing.
To enable her to do that, the cell extends a hand she could hold and a space where she could hold her own.
After 7 or 8 years of our work, we had organized an open house for women, and we asked them that what was the major thing which you liked about the self-intervention, and they said that that emotional understanding and the hand-holding and to be able to be just heard, that kind of a catharsis just helped her a lot.
The bonding this hand-holding creates is a lasting one.
We don't close the case ever. There's nothing called closure of case. Come back whenever you need. This is a place where you can come and talk to us whenever you want to.
The special cell not only keeps its own doors open for women, it also makes efforts to open other doors for them.
थोडा असेल जास्त असेल कमी आहे. मी चांगला शांत बसलेला असतो, मी खूप वेळ तिथं ऐकून घेतो, ती किरकिर करत असते, मी सहन करतो आणि शेवटी मला राहत नाही, मग मी भडकतो. असं जनरली लोक सांगतात. तर उद्युक्त करणे.
Create platforms for police on the area of violence against women. How do you create a platform for women's organization and talking with police? So to create all this, training was taken as one of our tools of intervention. It also fits in with our larger objective in the special cell to create awareness among police and professional groups.
At the ending of this training course, we evaluate their training. Then we find that their attitudes towards the human being, towards the woman, not entirely changed, but little bit progress is there.
We don't say that it's making a very large impact, but somewhere it comes, they start thinking at some point of time when you talk about violence against women, they start thinking. It just starts the ball rolling.
This special cell actually is a role model for various special cells which have been created in the country after this has started functioning well. In various places like Bangalore and Delhi and other places, they have started these special cells because our cell has been doing a good job.
15 years down the line, the special cell is not content with being only a role model. It hopes to deepen its impact and to concretize itself.
We started as a demonstration and innovation. We can't continue to say that after 15 years we are still innovating and demonstrating. Sometimes the state has to recognize that.
Even as this one response strives to become institutionalized, the response of another key institution to domestic violence has begun coming in for questioning.
Violence is perceived as a women-centered women problem. Other disciplines, such as the medical field and so on, have kept themselves away from it. To see if I can see that link between health and violence, I decided to take up a study which I call Health Correlates of Violence.
This correlation clearly showed that there were patterns and trends in women's health problems which were the outcome of the daily violence they face in their lives.
It was thrown up at me in each of these issues. I found that women with chronic gynec morbidities reported violence when they were talking about their morbidities, about their illnesses. Women who were talking about mental health problems such as anxiety and depression, the underlying factor was violence.
Fear of reprisals, the shame of admitting that you are battered, and the fact that you have to go back to the abuser often led to cover-ups.
मैं हॉस्पिटल में जाती थी तो डॉक्टर पूछते थे कि ये आपको चोट कैसी लग गई, तो मैं बता देती थी कि हंडा ऊपर से गिर गया, तो मैं किचन में गिर गई, कपड़ा धो रही थी, ऐसा ही बता देती, सब झूठ बता के मैं हॉस्पिटल में जाती थी.
The doctor's eyes show them that he knows that this is something which is not plain injury or fracture, but the doctor does not reach out and try to help.
The system here too considered domestic violence to be a private affair, and so did nothing even when women reported violations.
तो फिर मैंने बता दिया हाँ आदमी ने मारा था, कुछ नहीं किया डॉक्टर ने, कोई किसी के पास भेजा भी नहीं, पुलिस कंप्लेंट भी नहीं किया, कुछ नहीं, उनका वो करके जो था वही पूछ के करते थे और दवाई लेके भेजते थे वापस.
मैंने सुसाइड करने की कोशिश की, डॉक्टर वगैरह ने पूछा क्या प्रॉब्लम है, तुमने क्यों ऐसा किया. मैंने ही बोला कि मेरा कुछ फैमिली प्रॉब्लम्स है, पर्सनल प्रॉब्लम्स है, मैं जो डिस्क्लोज नहीं करना चाहती, और इसके लिए शायद मैंने तंग आके कर लिया, और उसके बाद कुछ हुआ नहीं, कुछ बोला नहीं.
Further, they feel that this is a concern of social organizations or people dealing with social science issues. And the most they can do is tell the woman to go and report it to a women's organization or go and see the social worker.
In the hospitals, they're working shift systems, they're working duty hours. They come, they see you, they note down the injuries, they note that you're distressed, right? They walk off.
The airway, the breathing and the circulation of the patient, that is always stressed in, and that itself takes that amount of time that he cannot just go over to think of the social part.
Ultimately, the end result is not that good, or the patient gets the treatment, but the root cause is not solved. That means the same violence can take place again after the person or the victim goes home.
The hesitation to intervene, to record what is apparent, pushes the woman back into situations of violence. Sometimes it also denies her legal redressal.
उन्होंने सीधा लिख दिया कि ठीक है उसने अपने हाथों से काटा, ये कटा हुआ है, चाकू से कटा हुआ है और ऐसा ऐसा मतलब इसका ये मेडिकल रिपोर्ट है. तो अगर वो एक लाइन लिख देते एक्स्ट्रा अपनी तरफ से एनालाइज करके कि कोई भी इंसान अपना खुद का गला काटे तो इतना सीधा सरल लेवल में नहीं हो सकता. एक उनका जो एनालिसिस का एक लाइन है वो उसको आगे हेल्प करता.
वो जो रिपोर्टिंग है उसमें भी थोड़ा आ जाता कि भाई कितने बजे उसको लाया गया, कितने बजे. जनरली द डॉक्टर्स कम टू नो कि कभी बर्न हुआ है और कभी लाया गया है, उसमें अगर गैप है, उनका रिस्पॉन्स थोड़ा अगर पॉजिटिव होता तो शायद थोड़ा डिफरेंस हो जाता, मुझे लगता है.
He does not diagnose at the end. What we are saying is that even in these so-called social cases where medical reporting is done, some kind of a diagnosis definitely needs to be made.
There has been frothing from the mouth and the nostrils. There is a harsh breath sound. That means she must have aspirated that poison.
Medical legal aspect is a total format which is prescribed by the government. We have to record it according to that. But he can take a note of it on his case papers of the hospital.
It has to be precise because all these things is again taken up in the court whenever the case is taken and when the doctor is then grilled. So he will always leave the social part away.
It is not going to add any burden on him going to court if he adds something in the case papers. Because most of the times case papers are sent to the court along with the casualty medical officers, and that is sufficient. So they are not afraid of it.
Yeah, that's
they should not be
rather. We have always taken the history.
The doctors have to be sensitized and trained in spotting violence, in asking questions which will be useful if the case ever comes up, say, in the next institution, that is the court.
It depends on how sensitive the doctor is and how aware he is of the entire problem.
There should be an established protocol.
A protocol which helps us in recording it. So even if the doctor is not sensitive enough, there are questions which probe and ask further.
Developing protocols is one thing, implementing it quite another. How prepared is the system really for it?
The system as such is not very much aware of the entire problem.
You would be surprised. I studied in Bombay. Okay, it is supposed to be a highest place seat of learning for psychiatry. I never received any formal training in psychotherapy and counseling.
A human being has to be taken as a toto. It cannot be compartmentalized as the medical fraternity always teaches in the first year, second year, that this is a respiratory system, this is a digestive system. We have to treat as a whole.
Their training really doesn't prepare them. The little orientation that they do have through the PSM department, where they have to compulsorily complete with the preventive and social medicine department 3 months of their internship, most of them say that they don't take that seriously.
In my hospital, at least it is happening. Especially when there is a suicidal tendency, we are definitely given the instruction that all these patients should be referred to psychiatrists.
At least in the hospitals where I have worked in India, it is done. They are referred to a psychiatrist. They are asked to come back to the psychiatry OPD next morning.
In the psychiatric department, the psychiatrist tries to take a history. And after the history is taken, that may be the last time he sees the particular person. They disappear. They just go underground. Nothing more is done about them.
Given the sensitive nature of the issue, the system would not only have to be responsive enough to bring women to it, it would also have to reach out to them.
Violence needs to be seen by the health system as a public health issue. Maybe the consequences are health, but its roots are in the social factors, in the homes, in the communities from where the woman comes. So until and unless we perceive it as a public health issue which needs to be reached out through primary health care, we will not be able to reach out to the women who are desperately trying to reach out to us.
If we can form a support group in this hospital along with the psychiatric department, along with the police health, then some social groups and our medical officers, then some of the problems can be solved.
So you need a multidisciplinary kind of response where the health provider is one of the persons. It can be taken further maybe by women's groups who are at the middle stage and who in turn can link up or network with community-based groups who can support the women.
A responsive medical facility or a police station then can at best be a halfway home. It can help halt the perpetuation of violence, not prevent it.
आणि कार्यक्रम सुरू व्हायला उशीर झाला त्याबद्दल मी दिलगिरी व्यक्त करते.
The program of zero tolerance to violence that we see here being inaugurated is one such state-supported initiative that aims to prevent violence against women.
It's looking at women's dignity, it's looking at women's rights, and it's also looking at the role of the community.
It is a positive experiment by which people will be able to take preventive actions at the community level, so women are not forced to suicides or to dowry deaths.
This experiment not only brings domestic violence onto a state platform, it also globalizes it under the UN umbrella.
All strata of the society have to get involved. The government has to do what they have promised, and this morning you heard they're calling it our project, our initiative. So that's exactly what the UN is all about. We facilitate, we build the platform here, all the actors are there. That's what I said in the morning.
अगर पूजा होती है तो शक्ति की पूजा होती है. अगर शक्ति की पूजा होती है तो फिर आप शक्तिवान बनती क्यों नहीं?
It is very well to say that okay, women should get empowered. They will get empowered and we are all working towards it. But what about sensitizing men?
मी आपल्या ह्या राज्याचा गृहराज्यमंत्री म्हणून सुद्धा आपल्याला आश्वासन देईन, आपल्याला अभिवासन देईन की ज्या ज्या गोष्टी आपल्या ह्या चळवळीला आवश्यक आहेत त्या सगळ्या सरकारकडून मदत आपल्याला मिळेल. पण त्याचबरोबर ज्या संघटनेची
Whether this initiative would work well or not, only time can tell. But what has stood the test of time and has also worked well is people's own initiatives. Led by women's groups, these interventions, by recounting to people their own tales, spread awareness, generate debates, initiate questionings.
नाटकाला आमच्या तर माझ्या ग्रामस्थ पिंपरी राजमाता मैंने पिंपरी यांच्याकडून अनेक शुभेच्छा देवत एवढ्या थोड्या।
दारू पीने के बाद जो घर में झगड़ा बेड़ा करते हैं वो बंद हो जाएगा ऑटोमेटिक। ऐसा जो महीने में दो महीने में ऐसा कुछ बताएंगे तो ऑटोमेटिक वो सुधर जाएगा।
माँ बोलती है कि घर में ही रहना चाहिए लड़कियों को, बाहर नहीं जाना चाहिए। माँ को मैं बोलेगी कि मेरे को भी सब इसमें भाग लेना चाहिए, मेरे को भी बड़ा होना है, लड़के के बराबर होना चाहिए मेरे को।
जो अभी दिखाया कार्यक्रम में कि लड़कियों के ऊपर ऐसा जांच वगैरह होता है वो होना नहीं चाहिए।
वो उसको मारता है और पीटता है बहुत, और नहीं होना चाहिए।
आपकी शादी हुई है?
नहीं हुई।
जब
होगी तब मैं ऐसा नहीं करूँगा।
86 से मैं कर रही 10 साल और 12-15 साल हम सब सगळ्या दौऱ्यामधून मी आहे सगळीकडे। प्रत्येक ठिकाणी रिस्पॉन्स इतका चांगला असतो आणि निमंत्रण येतं। प्रथम तर पहिल्यांदा असं वाटायचं की बायकांच्या पुढेच हे नाटक करावं। आम्ही म्हटलं नाही, पुरुषांच्या पुढे पण आम्हाला करायचं आणि मग आम्हाला जाणवलं की पुरुषांचाही रिस्पॉन्स मिळतो।
नाटक ये एक माध्यम है। नाटक के बाद उन लोगों को निश्चित रूप से संगठन बनाने की दृष्टि से कुछ कार्यक्रम देना जरूरी है।
नाटक करके जब वहाँ से निकलते थे तो लोग सामने आ जाते थे कि आपने ये कहा वो तो सही है, हम भी ये मानते हैं कि ये नहीं होना चाहिए, लेकिन हम अब इसको विरोध कैसे करें। फिर उसके बाद हमने ये सोचा कि यहाँ कुछ सेंटर इस तरह का होना चाहिए कि जहाँ पर उनकी जो व्यक्तिगत सवाल है जिसमें उनको सहन करना पड़ता है वो सामने आकर वो कहें। और इस तरह से हमने काउंसलिंग सेंटर की शुरुआत की।
मुझे संगठन में जाके बहुत सारी हिम्मत आ गई कि मैं खुद कुछ कर सकती हूँ। मैंने ऐसे हिम्मत करके उसके ऐसे हाथ पकड़े जब मारपीट करने को आए तो एक बार ऐसा हुआ, 2 बार ऐसा हुआ, फिर तीसरी बार उसको ऐसा लगा कि बाबा इसके भी पीछे कोई मतलब ये अकेली नहीं है। अभी
उसके हैरेसमेंट करने की ताकत कम होती है, हम देखते हैं, क्योंकि उन्हें मालूम होता है कि बाहर एक संगठन है जो कभी भी आके देखेगी, कभी भी आके सवाल करे कि ये क्या चल रहा है घर में।
This awareness not only helped women set up support centers outside their homes. For many, it also found support within them.
जो मेरे साथ हुआ वो लड़की के साथ नहीं होने दूंगी। तो उसके लिए कई बार केसेस में ये देखा गया है कि लड़की के साथ माँ आती है। मायके का आधार इस तरह का औरतों को मिलना थोड़ा बहुत शुरू हो गया।
Some use the strength to renegotiate their situations.
भले उसने फिल्म के लिए नहीं कहा हो कि मैं नहीं कहूँगी जो बात मुझ पर बीती है, लेकिन अब वो अपने आदमी से ये कहती है कि अभी अगर आप और मारोगे तो मैं बिल्कुल संगठन में मेंबर बन जाऊँगी। और उसका आदमी उससे ये कहता है कि मैं आपको नहीं मारूँगा। कुछ तो आगे कदम उसने बढ़ाया।
While some others force the state and the community to stand up for them.
पिसारवे गांव में जब पहले कंप्लेंट करने के लिए एक ही औरत गई थी तो 4 दिन पुलिस नहीं आई थी। केस का रजिस्ट्रेशन भी नहीं किया हुआ था। लेकिन जब अड़ोस पड़ोस के गांव से कुछ औरतें वहां गई, उसके बाद में वो केस का रजिस्ट्रेशन हो गया। इतना ही नहीं, उनके साथ पुलिस ने गाड़ी भी भेजी थी।
Domestic violence concerns both men and women. Strategies to tackle it, therefore, should not only address both, it should also involve them equally.
स्त्री मुक्ति का जो सवाल है वो सिर्फ औरतों का सवाल नहीं है। स्त्री मुक्ति यानी असली रूप में स्त्री पुरुष समानता, अगर वो लाना है तो पुरुषों को साथ लेकर ही ये करना पड़ेगा।
The desire to be actively involved led a group of men to come together and form their very own collective.
MAWA is an organization which came 5 years ago as a spontaneous response to an ad which was carried in the newspaper calling for men who believe that wives are not for battering.
Begun as a male preserve, the group soon opened its doors to all like-minded, men and women irrespective.
I think we have been able to, demonstrate that, each one has a potential and together you can make a difference, which is what we have been trying. It has evolved over the last 5 years, where we have been still struggling for space. We don't have a full-time social worker, we don't have a phone facility, or despite all that, we have been able to tackle more than 300 cases. In some ways, it has shown a heartening positive impact, which is keeping us alive.
Keeping hope and themselves alive is what women have done through their powerlessness and vulnerability. Even as we celebrate this power within powerlessness, it is time to question where it really comes from.
I asked this woman what was her perception of violence, because I just couldn't see why for 3 years, when the forms of violence that she talked about, why she had not moved out of that house. She said for a woman, honor and izzat is only within the 4 walls of the house.
Her honor is defined in terms of the 4 walls. Her world revolves around it, and yet her claim to it is hardly real.
वो जो मुझे हमेशा घर के बाहर निकालते थे, एक दिन मैंने उनको निकाला घर के बाहर, हाथ पकड़ लिए, बहुत मारते थे, तो आजू बाजू वाले सब जमा हो गए कि आपने ऐसा क्यों किया। फिर मुझे एकदम ऊंची मुंडी करके मेरे को बहुत हिम्मत आके मैंने बोली सबको कि आप जब औरत को घर के बाहर निकाला जाता है तब आप लोग बोलते हैं कि औरत और मर्द का ये जो रिश्ता है उसमें तीसरा आदमी नहीं जाना चाहिए, तो आज आप क्यों आ रहे हैं।
Elsewhere, an Afra won the right to legally prevent her violent husband to enter his own home.
How I understand Afra's case, how did it impact the larger society, is that I think this case demonstrates that women does have a right to her matrimonial home.
This is very significant because we got a restraining order restraining the husband from entering his own house. In situations of extreme violence towards the woman, the court has the power to even restrain the husband from entering the house. So this case has established that.
Asarla was able to demand it, and Afra legally won it. But there are many others who perpetually live under the threat of ouster from a home they nurture but cannot call their own.
It's a total ruthlessness that the women's lives are woven into. Nothing actually belongs to them. Their home doesn't belong to them. Their children doesn't belong to them. Their parental home doesn't belong to them. Their earnings do not belong to them. So it is a total subordination that the woman faces in the matrimonial home.
This ruthlessness gives women's lives a tentativeness that gets reflected in the denials they face. Creating responses to these denials is then about creating structures that recognize the ground realities of a woman's life, that take a holistic view of her requirements, and above all, that help a woman to break free of the barriers that enclose her.
आश्वासक है हात तुला बळ देतील नवी उभारी, निर्धाराने विश्वासाने तूच स्वतःला तारी, पैदार उघड उदे, पैदार उघड उदे.